first ever Game Changers Championship just concluded, where we saw G2 Gozen take the trophy after a grueling 5-map grand finals. But outside of their victory, we got introduced to so many players and teams who proved just how insane they are at this game. I went into this tournament thinking I knew who my favorite players were, I knew which teams I'd be rooting for the hardest, and I came out the other side having my mind being blown by so many others I hadn't even considered. And one player who stood out to me amongst the rest had to be Sonder. Shopify Rebellion overall blew me away. Despite being known for being a hardcore NA fan, I was actually less familiar with the Game Changers teams from outside of EMEA, and that meant I, embarrassingly, didn't know what I was in for when watching this ridiculous team. And while every player on this team is deserving of their own video, I had to talk about the one who caught my eye the most. Diana Sonder Zhang was the second youngest player at Game Changers Champs, being just 17 years old, but has grinded through VALORANT tournament after VALORANT tournament to get to where she is now. Having been part of the original Built Better team, where she played alongside Laurie and Flowerful, she was a member of the original Shopify Rebellion, who signed the team in June of 2021 after they won the Visionaries tournament with a 2-1 victory over Gen G Female. Since then, she's represented Shopify in every single Game Changers NA series, reaching the finals in each one, but losing out to regional rivals Cloud9 every time. And while Shopify were respected as a dominant team, the memes certainly followed them. Always second place, never enough to be a Cloud9 wipe. But for Sonder specifically, so much improvement occurred over the course of these tournaments. She went from being top 10 ACS in 2022 Series 1 to being top 3 in Series 2. And some of that definitely had to be thanks to the slight shift in her agent pool. From Raze, Reyna, and Jet, Sonder got introduced to arguably her most notable agent, Neon. How we know Ye for his Chamber or Sassy for his Sova, Sonder and Neon are the Game Changers equivalent. And you know if she's playing it, it's gonna be a good map. Shopify Rebellion were the only team in Series 3 to play Neon on more than 3 maps: Haven, Fracture, Pearl, and Breeze. And on just Neon, Sonder averaged an ACS of 231.125, less than 1 ACS lower than Misfits Fluorescent, who played 3 fewer maps on the agent than Sonder did. And when Champions rolled around, that insane skill seemed to be even more obvious on a LAN stage. And before we go on with this, I want to remind you guys, Sonder is 17. She's not someone with a ton of LAN experience like teammate Benita. Let's be honest, she could have showed up and sucked at LAN, but she really didn't. Shopify's first game was against Guild X, the first seed from EMEA. I went into that game not really quite sure what to expect. Guild X are obviously an incredible team, and they were the first seed from EMEA, which is that one spot that Shopify had never quite been able to get into. Plus, this was the first international competition that they were going to be playing. How would you set your expectations for that? So I think of all the things I did expect, it wasn't the game that we got. But this ended up being where I became the star eyes emoji watching Sonder. Shopify's amazing comeback on Pearl was helped massively by her Neon utility, facilitating pushes into the B side. And 5 of her 6 multi-kill rounds happened after the turn of the half, including the insane 4K in round 30 to secure the overtime victory on their opponent's map. It felt like, after 2 close maps, Icebox would be the same story, but Sonder was a huge part of why it wasn't. The way she craftily used her utility on the A site to make Guild X's pushes so much harder, with flash and knife clears on small corners, or the use of the fragment to immediately negate a lockdown, forced Guild to work so much harder and lose more in the process to reach their objective. Even just her aggressive and audacious plays to collect kills at points where others would maybe whiff or fall back provided so much value to the team. Most of her playing was with the understanding that a teammate like KP or Flowerful would be able to follow up and gain the value off of that situation she'd created. But it wasn't actually always needed. The way she affected team engagements can't be understated. The real challenge was, of course, facing against regional rivals Cloud9 White. Cloud9 had beaten Shopify every time they'd faced each other in the past, and this was an elimination game. This was definitely a series where we saw less flashiness from Sonder. A lot of the big individual plays were by Flowerful or Laurie, but Sonder was still an important part of the puzzle. Rounds where the series could have gotten away from them were wrestled back thanks to her, and her utility and reflexes helped keep Shopify in the game. At times during Icebox, it really felt like Shopify were being a little too aggressive, or taking peeks when it was too risky to do so. But again, Sonder provided so much value throughout the map. Like round 11, where it seemed C9 may have an advantage with a pinch attack onto the A site, Sonder's quick trade of the opening kill helped ensure no early advantage was taken by their opponent. Or in round 16, where her early peeks allowed Shopify to bait C9 and rotate easily to the B side, the site where Sonder's null command and flashes helped her teammates clear up the defenders and their attempt to defuse the spike. And she's absolutely not a perfect player, and that was clear in the grand finals. Not because she played badly, but, you know, Shopify didn't win. Sonder also struggled a lot more on the last 2 maps of the series, where her ACS was below 100 on both. One of these maps was Icebox, a map I've been praising her performance on, and the other Breeze, where they played a single duelist Reyna composition for the first time ever. I think it became clear that Shopify became worn out partway through that best of 5. They've only ever played 6 best of 5s before, and none of them have been offline. And none of them have been reverse sweeps either, a prime target for mental fortitude to slip. Especially when your head coach isn't there on stage, knowing exactly how to keep you afloat. I say this not to excuse the loss, but to highlight the fact that a perfect run is not required to see how much success and promise lies in a player's future. Here is a 17-year-old girl, she's flown halfway across the world to compete in an international tournament for the first time, and she crushed it. I think with time, development, and practice, this is a player who will be able to trust to always give an international performance. She's a player who will be able to pop off or set up against any team, game changers or otherwise. I think this team gave us so much to root for, and they definitely picked up new fans, at least one in me. But I had to talk about Sonder because she very quickly became my favorite over the course of this event. But I'm definitely curious on you guys' opinions. What do you think of Sonder? What did you think of Shopify Rebellion overall? And what do you think the future is going to look like for these players? Because I'll be honest, I was really freaking impressed with the overall level of skill in this competition. I knew that those top teams like, you know, G2, like C9 were definitely going to impress us, but the fact that the whole event was as competitive as it was just perfect. It was fantastic. Let me know what you think in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.